Okay, suppose you're asked to find these limits. And when you look at this one, and when you consider the limit of the numerator and denominator separately, and you plug in 3, which you can do if you have a polynomial, you're going to get 0 in the numerator and 0 in the denominator. And the same thing happens if you try and plug in 5 for x into the numerator and denominator of this one. So you're going to have to think of something else. And something else that you can do is you can factor. Okay, so let's look at this first one. Well, we can definitely see that the numerator, those terms have an x in common. So we can factor out an x in the numerator. All right, what about the denominator? Well, it starts with a 2, so we're going to have to try and find some possibilities here. With 2, I could have 1 times 2. Okay, and I don't have to worry about the order for the first term. For this one, how could I get -3? Well, I could have -1 and +3. Now, how do I know if this is going to work? If the outer product plus the inner product gives me this number, -5, then I know this pairing will work. So I'm going to have 3 for the outer product, and then -2. And 3 minus 2 is 1, and that does not equal to -5. So that pairing is not going to work. So I'm going to try another way. How else could I get it? Well, I could have 1 times -3. Now, is this going to work? Outer plus inner. So -3 plus 2 is going to be -1, and that doesn't give me that. Okay. Well, how else could it work? I could change the order around. How about 3 and -1? Is that going to work? Outer plus inner. So outer product is -1 and inner product is +6, and 6 plus -1 is +5. We're still not there, so I could once again change the order. And so you have to be quite unlucky, as I have, to go through all of them. Outer plus inner product. So +1 and -7. So none of these have worked. Sorry, +1 and -6. And -6 plus 1 is -5. I have found the pairings that work. The pairings that work are 1 and 2 and -3 and 1. Now, how am I going to write this? Well, here's how I'm going to write it. It's going to be this number times x, and that number times x, and then -3 and +1. So I'm going to go back up here, and this can now be factored as that. There's another way you can do it. You can use factoring by grouping. Okay, really it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. All right, so however you can factor it, then that's what we're going to want. So this limit is now going to become the limit as x approaches 3 of x times x minus 3 all over x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. And we can see now that we have cancellation. Because I have a product in the numerator, a product in the denominator. These will cancel because x is approaching 3. It's not equal to 3. So after I make that cancellation, I'm going to have that. And now I can evaluate the limit of the numerator and denominator separately. And so I'm just going to plug in 3 wherever there's an x. And I'm going to plug in 3 wherever there's an x. So that's going to be 2 times 3 plus 1. And so I should get 3/7. And that is my limit for that one. Okay. So what about the other one? All right, well, same thing. If I just plug in 5 into the numerator and denominator, I'm going to get 0 over 0. That's not going to work. So I can see that I can factor that numerator and the denominator without too much trouble. So that's a difference of 2 squares. So that's going to be x minus square root of 25 times x plus square root of 25, which is going to give me x minus 5 times x plus 5. And here, it's x squared by itself this time, yay! And so two numbers that multiply together to give me positive 15, but at the same time, they add up together to give me negative 8. So that's going to be negative 3 and negative 5. Okay, now, since x is approaching 5, it's not equal to 5, I can do this cancellation. And so this limit is going to be that. And again, I can just now plug in a 5 separately. I can take the limits of the numerator and denominator separately. So in the numerator, I'm going to get a 10. And in the denominator, I'm going to get a 2. And that's going to simplify to 5. So my limit for the second one is 5. My limit for the first one was 3/7. Okay. And that ends this video.